Today we're going to be taking a bit of a look at patch 14.23 for League of Legends and how all the changes coming this patch have affected our tier list. We're going to get straight into it and start off with the top lane, and here we've got nerfs to Tahm Kench and Zac and major changes to Aurora and a few little ones to Ambessa. Tahm Kench's win rate has been a little bit crazy recently in both the top lane and the support roles, so it's definitely expected that we've seen some nerfs for him this patch. He's had his passive AP ratio and his ultimate shield's AP ratio reduced here, therefore he's still going to be a strong tanky choice, but less abusable with the AP tanky builds instead. Zac's win rate has also been incredibly high in the top lane recently, so he's getting his Q's max HP ratio reduced down from 4% to 3%. Despite his still relatively low pick rate, he's had one of the best win rates across most ranks in the top lane in recent patches. So let's see if this nerf has any impact. Aurora's changes are absolutely massive though, as Riot are trying to balance her more generally towards the overall player base rather than the spot she's been in recently, which is completely abusable in high elo and competitive pro play. So she now no longer has any movement speed on her passive, and instead it's tied to her W. Her ultimate now grants movement speed inside of it instead of amplifying movement speed, and her ultimate also no longer traps enemies but instead slows them. The ultimate's duration is now longer as well, which definitely makes it more forgiving when trying to bounce around it. Her Q's cooldown is now longer but deals slightly more damage and has a longer range, as does her E. So to sum up, these changes are all looking like they're going to make Aurora a bit more easy to play, which will definitely see her improve towards lower ranks, but are they going to fix the problem of her being such a lane bully and such a prioritised pick in competitive play? It's pretty hard to tell, but for now we're going to keep her in the A tier and see how this patch plays out. Ambessa's had a relatively mixed start to her League of Legends career so far, with half of the player base thinking she's completely useless and the other half thinking she's absolutely broken. This patch, Riot have brought a slightly longer Q2 cast window for her, and her passive dashes can no longer go over player created terrain. Movement commands issued before her ultimate will now also be discarded to prevent Ambessa pathing towards a place they're no longer near. Realistically, these are mostly just quality of life changes, and to be honest, we personally don't really feel like she needs any buffs, because she's definitely strong in the right hands and in the right matchups and drafts. And those high elo players are definitely proving that she's better than most players realise. However, if you do go against some of her difficult matchups like a good Renekton for example, he can really punish her. If you want to check out Ambessa's best builds and runes, then don't forget to head to our website and stay up to date here with her most popular builds, off-meta builds, alternative ones, and even all the builds from the one-trick ponies around the world. We've got her in the B tier here for our overall tier list and in the A tier in high elo, so if you know what you're doing, she's definitely capable of being much higher. So in the S tier for the top lane we have Aatrox, Camille, Darius, Mundo, Kennen, Malphite, Poppy, Riven, Tahm Kench and Volibear. A bit of a mix of bruisers and tanks here, which basically sums up the meta here. Poppy didn't even flinch with her nerfs last patch, so she stays in the S tier for both the top and support roles. Riven is still a crazy pick in the right hands, and Camille bounces back up here this week too. A tier picks like Cho'Gath and Renekton are proving they aren't to be underestimated either, so give these a go if you haven't already. Moving into the jungle next then, and here we have buffs to Master Yi, Rammus and Rengar, and nerfs to Kha'Zix, Shyvana, Teemo and Skarner. Master Yi's attack speed on his ultimate is going up with a whopping plus 20% at level 16, so late game lobbies with him in them, especially at lower ranks, are going to be even scarier. Rammus's Q is being buffed, reducing its early cooldown by 4 seconds, and this does make sense to be honest, as Rammus has been seriously struggling for quite some time now. Rengar's ultimate's bonus damage and armor shred is all being increased this patch too, and Rengar hasn't really had the best split 3 so far, so this is also expected. Kha'Zix on the other hand has been a bit on the strong side, so his base armor goes down from 36 to 32, and his evolved isolated W slow is getting nerfed from 75 to 60%. But to be honest, we don't think these nerfs are going to make too much of a difference. Teemo's E's monster mod is going down from 150 to 125% after a spell of being ridiculously strong in the jungle. And apart from that, Skarner's Q's bonus HP ratio also comes down from 4 to 3%. So in the jungle S tier we have Echo, Elise, Graves, Kha'Zix, Lee Sin, Nocturne, Nunu, Viego, Warwick, Wukong and Zac. Echo has shot up to the S tier this week after proving recently that he's here to stay, as well as Elise who is popping off across the majority of ranks. Wukong's buffs last patch have had a fantastic impact on his success rates too, as he's now showing great stats across every single rank. A tier popular picks like Jarvan, Kayn, Bel'Veth and Karthus are all performing really well too, especially considering their insane amount of games played, so this will almost definitely continue with patch 14.23. Into the mid lane next then, and here we just have some buffs to Azir with his W's AP ratio being increased. Swain has bounced back with a vengeance after his buffs last week though, and now his little rework is looking like a real success if you're a Swain main. He's got some insane stats currently in the mid lane and the bot lane as an AP carry, and he just gets incredibly tanky, deals ridiculous amounts of damage, and survives in team fights for years on end. So get stuck in, pop your ultimate, and enjoy the free LP. Akshan has also made a return recently, especially towards those higher ranks, and after a few months of not being played that much, players have now remembered just how OP he can be. The burst damage he has right now with his crit build is absolutely absurd, and if you do forget about him, he can swing in, clean up fights in a matter of seconds, and resurrect his whole team at the same time. Vex currently has one of the highest win rates in the entire game in the mid lane recently though, and she's showing just how hard she can 1v9. If you get the right matchups for her into melee dashing champions like a Yasuo for example, the lane is seriously free. And then she can just roam and carry the rest of the map so easily. So if you haven't already been playing her, definitely give her a go. So in the S tier for the mid lane we have Ahri, Akshan, Anivia, Cassiopeia, Hwei, Lux, Swain, Sylas and Vex. The A tier is also full of great picks here too, like obvious popular choices in LeBlanc and Katarina, scaling powerhouses like Orianna, Ryze and Syndra, and even a few assassins proving their worth in Talon and Zed. Down to the bot lane next then, and let's check out those AD carries. We've got a small nerf of 50 gold to the Collector, bringing its cost up slightly, but also some more big buffs to Yontar Wild Arrows, making it 100 gold cheaper, increasing its passive duration by 2 seconds, and reducing that passive attack speed steroid cooldown by 10 seconds as well. It seems like Riot just want this item to be strong, and with these changes, it looks like it might just be a bit OP. So get ready for the League of Jinx once again, which is kind of appropriate with Arcane being so big right now. Saying that, Riot have also brought in some changes to Jinx this patch, increasing her AD growth but reducing the AD ratio on her W, which basically shows they want her to be an attack speed based carry rather than a Collector bursty lethality one-shot machine that she has been doing recently. Yumu's Ghostblade has also had a nerf for ranged users once again, bringing its out of combat movement speed down by half and reducing the active cooldown from 6 to 4 seconds. Maybe a bit of a dead item for AD carries now. Miss Fortune's Q's mana cost is being buffed significantly this patch though, going from 43 to 55 to a flat 40 mana cost at every single rank. MF has always been a strong pick in low elo, and hasn't really exactly been a troll pick recently, but has definitely not been as strong as she has been in the past. So let's see if these Q buffs help her out, but for now we are going to keep her in the B tier. Caitlyn's bonus AD ratio on her ultimate has gone down from 150% to 100% this patch, which is pretty significant but won't stop her from winning lanes, trapping and bursting down enemies with headshots, and snowballing really hard with her bursty crit build. Kog'Maw has also got some nerfs this patch to his Q shred early game and his ease damage and AP ratio. Arcane Comet AP Kog'Maw has been completely anti-fun to play against for the last few patches, so now Riot are trying to reduce this. He'll still be a great champion to pick in the right drafts, but we'll likely see more of the AD carried Kog'Maw return, rather than every single one just picking AP. Smolder has got another round of huge balance changes, and as this guy seems to be featured in every single patch notes, we aren't going to cover every single detail. But basically, he's super OP in pro play, and players that can efficiently stall and scale and stack are just simply making him too strong. So unfortunately, he probably isn't going to get any stronger for the rest of the player base. In the AD carry S tier then, we have Ashe, Jhin, Jinx and Swain. Not a crazy amount of choice in the S tier, but the A tier is packed full of other viable champions like Caitlyn, Corki, Draven and Ezreal, alongside a couple of strong mages like Karthus, Lux and Hwei. I've been playing a little bit of Lux as an AP carry recently and it feels really damn strong, so give it a go. Finally, let's finish off with supports then, and we don't actually have any buffs or nerfs to any champions here, except for a pretty huge round of adjustments to Rell. Rell is another champion who's just been so popular and so successful in pro play, and Riot are attempting to bring down her chain crowd control potential as it's just a bit too reliable in the right hands. As well as bringing this down in their own words, they're also adding a bunch of other power into other portions of her kit to try and compensate. Because of these changes, we have moved Rell down to the A tier this week, but it is really hard to judge just how much impact these changes will actually have. So don't forget to check back on our tier list on our website to stay up to date with any changes as this patch plays out. Nami is still one of the most consistent support champions you can pick right now, as she just slots into any team comp so perfectly. She's a ton of fun to play and can impact games in subtle and simple ways just by buffing and boosting her allies, or she can land perfect bubbles and huge ultimates to sway all sorts of fights in all sorts of situations. Another enchanter you simply should not forget about though is Janna, as she's always been an exceptional solo queue support to pick who can influence defense and carry games so effortlessly. She's got insane amounts of disengage and peel and protection, and whether you're permanently fighting 2v2s or roaming and securing those grubs with your jungler, she's definitely a top pick to go for. So in the S tier 4 support we have Braum, Janna, Karma, Lulu, Nami, Poppy, Senna and Thresh. Yes, Karma comes up this week after proving more and more consistent over recent patches. Lulu, Nami and Janna are still the most popular and successful enchanters, and anti-melee machine Braum also proves he's not going anywhere anytime soon. Poppy remains one of the best supports in the game too despite her recent nerfs, and Thresh is still an absolute monster in the right hands. And that's going to bring us to the end of our patch 1423 tier list prediction video. Good luck in the climb guys, and we'll catch you in the next one. Take care.